Thanks for joining me today for another episode of Hunger Hunt Feast. Today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the food choices. So most of you are looking for ways to just burn fat more effectively, whether you have a big weight loss goal or you just want to stay lean, or sometimes just stay healthy long term. But there's always a tendency in while we're looking at the macros of everything to move toward it's called pre-made, you want to call low carb or keto snacks or foods that really, basically just to save time, right? We're looking at snacks and pre-made stuff, or maybe something that replaces a food that we miss, but sort of in a keto formulation, rather than having whole food or, and it can be, there's times when you just don't have time to make food, or you've run out of food, you need something, you need dinner, whatever. That happens, or you want to insert something different. That should not be the rule, though. That should be an exception. We really want to make a habit of having whole food the majority of the time, like 90% of the time, ideally, right? And stay away from those quick fix traps of low carb snacks, diet and fat burning supplements, and just things that replace like keto bread, right? Keto pasta, stuff like that. So the whole food needs to be the cornerstone of either, whether it's weight loss or long-term health. That needs to be your cornerstone, because weight loss, unless you're going for a quick, 3-week drop in weight, those wouldn't help you anyway. But the tendency is, it's a short term. Basically, you're thinking short term. You're not thinking long term. You need to think long term. You think about how to change habits long term, because that's the only way you're going to not only lose weight but keep it off. If you're just doing for like quick fix and you don't really make time or really start changing your habits or your tastes, what you're used to eating, then your habits may be short lived and your weight loss may be short lived, or if or just you're underutilizing really what could be a good plan with the shortcuts. You're just not going to make the most of it. You're not going to get the full benefit of what you're looking for, but you're putting forth a lot of effort. You're probably working out. You're trying to cut out carbs. You're putting forth a lot of effort, but by shortcutting in this area, you're cutting short your benefit, the results. So really, we want to look for single ingredient food, like a piece of a meat or fish, a whole vegetable, even if it's a starchy vegetable or fruit, a whole, like a sweet potato, or a piece of fruits, a stick of butter. You could say it's been extracted from whole milk, formed into a stick. It's still one ingredient. There's just butter in there, right? As opposed to, you look at, like, say, and this is, of course, obviously a processed food, but margarine, how many ingredients are in that? Or if you're looking at, a bar, for instance, how many ingredients are in a bar? It may be a protein or have the macros you're looking for, but not really food, in a sense, the way your body would understand food. There's room for supplementation, but your best health, your best hormonal response is going to be, especially for weight loss, is going to come from whole food. It's just digested slower. Okay, it's still in its whole form. So what if there are some carbohydrates coming from that? Or if there is going to be an insulin response to whatever it is, protein or carb, it's going to be a much slower response. And that those macronutrients are going to hit your system a lot slower while they're being broken down in your digestive system. And much less of an impact on your insulin, your blood sugar, than like the processed bar, for instance, which is basically you've had some level of original food in there, right? That's been ground into a powder, and then had additives stuck, to help it stick together, help it, kind of form this bar shape, or whatever it is, or even in a shake. You've got not just food. Okay, you've got other things in there to create this flavor and texture that you're going for, even though it's a processed food. They ground something up and stuck it in this in this so-called food that's supposed to help you lose weight. But when you ground something up, you're going to have, I don't care what it's made of, you're going to have a greater impact on blood sugar. It's going to be digested much quicker. It's pretty much pre-digested. It's been broken down already for you. A greater impact on blood sugar than the original food would. Protein drinks, same thing. Whey protein is really chosen by bodybuilders and people, who are weightlifting, trying to gain weight because of its impact on blood sugar, because it's a very high impact on insulin. Insulin shoots straight up. And that's to create growth and recovery, quick recovery after a workout, because you get the insulin impact shoots way up and drives that way into their empty muscles. It's really meant for growth. Okay. It's not meant as a diet food. So people going to it as a shortcut who want to lose weight, not really understanding that. I think protein is protein, and no, its form has a lot to do with it. If you're eating, 24 grams of whey protein versus 24 grams from, say, a steak or chicken or fish, whatever, it's going to hit your system a lot slower. You have much less of an insulin impact. So, you're better, or 4 eggs, eggs are very easily assimilated, very easily digested. Okay. So they might have more of an impact than, say, meat, but nothing compared to drinking a shake of any form. And, I get it. If you're trying to add in a bit more protein, we'll talk about that later. If you're trying to get more in because you're having a hard time eating enough meat and eggs, but make sure you're doing as much as you can to get the meat and the eggs in first, okay, to the level that you're looking for. And then if you have to top off, that's a different story. But, think about the difference between apple and apple juice. Well, obviously the form, the fiber, right? There's a lot of sugar in our apples now. We've just been bred, our fruit's been bred to be sweeter and bigger and full of more sugar. But think of the difference between eating an apple, the impact on your blood sugar, versus apple juice. It's like, it's a huge difference. I mean, juice is going in like a soda, essentially. It's got the same sugar content for the most part. Very similar sugars. There may be a little more of a binding there, but we're talking about milliseconds that it's slowing down versus just sugar and high fructose corn syrup put into a soda versus what's in an apple, the juice. Pretty much the same thing. I mean, I saw a meme the other day, and we had a picture of juice and a Snickers bar. It basically said drinking juice for vitamins is a lot like eating a Snickers bar to get the magnesium. Honestly, you're chasing some small benefit, but in the process, having much more of a negative impact in the delivery process. You're going after vitamins in a sugar-filled substance. It's going to have much more of a negative effect than positive. And of course, with a lot of these shakes and bars and low carb snack foods, the keto pastas, the low carb crackers, low carb breads, you have a lot of other added ingredients, again, to make the form, to make the shape, to make them last, shelf stable, make them bind together to give them some taste. So it really needs to be a very small part of, like, ideally less than 10% of your diet for health and weight loss. It really shouldn't be a daily thing. It should be at every dinner that you're putting in some sort of keto pasta, keto pizza crust, something like that. That's just not it. It's not a normal carb, and it's been, or you've taken a food that's supposed to be a carb and turned into a low carb version. It's not really food. You're almost better just having the actual carby food in a much smaller portion. Then, in my opinion, this is my opinion, because it's too easy to get in the habit of eating that same type of food. You're not changing the habit of your food choices or your taste preferences. You should be looking at those starchy foods as exceptions, truly, as rare exceptions, or something you eat in small quantities. Whereas if you say, oh, it's keto, it's low carb, then you end up eating a lot more of it than you really should. And even the carbs that are in there start adding up much quicker because you're eating more of it, because you think it's like fair game. It's free, right? It's free calories. No, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as free calories, especially if you're trying to burn fat, lose weight. There's no free calories. And so just because the macros look good on the label doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact on your blood sugar. They may have been low carb before they were processed, but again, once you ground them up, stick them together, pre-digested. I mean, think about a cauliflower, steamed cauliflower versus cauliflower pizza crust. Yeah, there is some starch in cauliflower. Maybe shock some of you. It has more carbs, say, than broccoli. Okay, but still a lot of fiber wrapped around that cauliflower. I mean, it's, before you cook it, it's solid, right? That's a stalk. You have to steam it, cook it somehow to make it edible so your body can digest it, just to break that fiber down. There's still a little starch in there. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad food. It's great as it is. Steam the cauliflower, put some butter and salt all over it, enjoy it. But you grind it up and turn it, and so it turns into a pizza crust. Okay, look at the ingredients. There's not just cauliflower in that pizza crust, obviously, right? There's binding agents. There's things that make it look like a pizza crust that aren't cauliflower. And it's ground into a flour, not cauliflower, but flour, Flour, right? It's ground into flour. So the fiber is probably taken out. There's more cauliflower starch. Yeah, I know what the label says. It's not cauliflower. It's not like eating a, cup of or 2 cups of steamed cauliflower with some salt on it. So don't kid yourself. And then you look at the additives. A lot of times they are oils, even in the healthy foods, the paleo foods, the low carb foods. They have these seed oils, like they had my last episode on. These processed seed vegetable oils, right? PUFA oils like the soy, canola, rapeseed, safflower oil, right? I might even call it organic. I don't care. It's still bad for you. It's omega-6 oils, but separated from its root, and it just oxidizes immediately. And then you cook it. It's even worse. Free radical cascade going in your body. You're putting in there in the name of a health food. Avoid those oils at all costs. It's just not worth. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. They cause inflammation. Low carb desserts. Again, when it's something that's supposed to not something that's naturally low carb. I'm talking about not like having berries, right, with some heavy whipping cream that with no sugar added, or you add in maybe an artificial sweetener. If you're making it yourself, what the ingredients are. That's great. If you're buying a low carb dessert that looks like a pie or a cake or something like, check those ingredients. Check those ingredients. A small indulgence now and then, that's one thing. If you think that it's just a free food that you can get away with and eat as often as you want, frequently, no, you're kidding yourself. It's called dirty keto for a reason. If you're wondering why it's not working, well, I just explained it, because you're riding dirty. And that's not going to work for most people long term. If you're in maintenance mode and that's what you want to do, and you choose to eat, different story. Then you're just worried about your health and those ingredients. But if your weight loss plan isn't working and you're having a bunch of dirty keto, it's time to clean it up. It's time to clean it up and go for the whole food. There's lots of, if you have trouble with cooking, meal ideas, you're bored, or time because you're busy working, I get that. There's plenty of low carb or keto meal delivery services out there, like Factor. It used to be called Factor 75, might just be going by Factor now. Ketone Bodies, Bistro MD, there's Sunbasket. I mean, there's a lot of them that are like, say, have a national name, but they have a local kitchen where they ship them to you locally, or you can find a local kitchen that's not a franchised, or larger corporate kitchen. But they basically serve you from a local source, right? You can find low carb and keto versions of those meals and have those delivered, have 4 or 5 delivered a week, just to give you some variety, give you something to eat for lunch, give you, break up that. And they're very affordable, but break up your week a little bit from your own cooking and own food prep. And they're usually they're made of whole foods. They usually have very good sources of food. But it's a low carb or keto offering. And, I'm not talking about like Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers that say keto friendly or low calorie or, diet. Those are ultra processed. I mean, if you look at them, they got like lasagna and cake on there, hamburgers with buns and stuff. And no. And keto friendly, which means, hey, we're slipping something past you. It's keto friendly. It's not even really keto, but it's ultra processed garbage. It's probably just make you constipated, to be honest, in my opinion. I see those commercials and I'm going, because it just makes me think I'd be, backed up for a few days after eating that thing. Sorry, but it just looks gross to me because I know it's all fake. It's not homemade food. It's to make that low carb, low calorie. Oh my gosh, what they have to do to it, whatever they've got that made of, it's foreign to your body. So sorry, no, but go for something like I mentioned, like a more health-based, not huge system-based, health-based, low carb or keto with fresh food where you see whole single ingredient foods in that plate. Okay. Nothing with crust, nothing that looks like it was flour, like cake. Okay. Whole food. Be careful. Thing to watch out for with those is if someone's used to, or if a service is used to doing kind of low fat or low calorie, and they've got a low carb version that they're offsetting some of the carbs with a little bit fattier. I don't think you need extra fat when you're trying to lose weight, but that they're using olive oil or butter, or that they're it's not just like chicken breast on a bed of lettuce. Okay, to me that's not successful. You're probably going to be hungry because there's no fat or carbs at all. So a little bit fattier cuts of meat, stuff like that. Anyway, that's just my bit of advice. Look for something that's going to be satiating. If you're eating them and you're finding yourself not hungry either, they're not adding enough protein, not big enough servings, or they're not getting the fat in there. And it's just this ultra lean. It's all protein and veggie with no fat or carb at all. And again, I don't think you need 70% fat. I don't. When you're trying to lose weight, some people do fine on that, but I don't think that's really the case. I think lower energy, more protein. That's great. But you need to just be aware that if some of these places that say have a low carb offering, they may not be great at low carb. So you might want to have to hunt around. They're not all the same. But again, animal-based, one ingredient, protein and veggies is a great place to start with little to no starch, obviously. So, because many of these additives that they put in these foods, like the processed food, they're inflammatory in our bodies. Again, like the seed oils, and they might even slow down your weight loss. They definitely have a negative impact on your health, but they cause inflammation. They can cause inflammation in your gut. So a dysbiosis, so inflammation with your biome, with those bacteria in there, because you got unrecognizable food. It's not whole food. It's some weird process thing with chemicals in it and the seed oil. So you get gut permeability, or sort of a leaky gut, which basically it basically creates just enough of an opening in that single cell layer of your gut that to allow small particles through. They're called the LPS, so lipopolysaccharides, escape your gut and they get into your body. And then that causes inflammation in other parts of your body, causes an immune response because your immune system attacks it. And that's inflammation right there. And this has definitely been linked to obesity, hormone disruptions, whether it's insulin or other hormone. Could cause more hunger, could cause other problems like autoimmune or food allergies, food intolerances. I think of a peanut allergy, seafood allergy, or someone who it's not the same in everybody. What happens depends on how your immune system reacts to it, but your immune system will associate that with something that it shouldn't, and cause reactions. So every time that food, whether you have the LPS there or not, your immune system detects that food or that item and attacks it. So we want to limit inflammatory foods. We want to limit putting them in our gut because, again, our bodies will respond to it and attack. So it's not just about macros, shouldn't be. It's about food quality. And again, your goal is to change habits and create a new lifestyle, not continue with the same food habits and food and lifestyle with just food that's relabeled, that's been remade into something, again, dirty keto. So we're not looking for the quick fix. You got to change the taste, change food choices, eating habits. And if you're constantly eating things that taste sweet because it's low carb or no calorie, or happens to be labeled high protein, something like that, you really haven't changed your habits. You're still going after sweet tasting food, and the micronutrients, so the minerals, the vitamins in those bars, the shakes, a lot of times they might have some added nutrients like that, but they're lab created. They're not naturally occurring in the food, right? So a lot of those nutrients you probably aren't even absorbing, the micronutrients, not like you would with whole food. So again, fresh animal sources of protein sources like especially any ruminant, any lamb, cow, bison, deer, whatever, but really any animal protein is going to be have much more bioavailable micronutrients than any any processed food, and often more than most plants. If the nutrients are in there, they're in a form that are more bioavailable and more friendly for us to absorb if they're from an animal, as opposed to a processed food, a multivitamin, or a plant. So just saying, we don't have to convert them for like fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, K, B vitamins you can only get from animal source, really. And then all the minerals like zinc, selenium, iron, copper, phosphorus, calcium, all available from animal-based foods and much more bioavailable than any other source. Then you got omega-3 fats, okay? Fish, EPA, DHA. Grass-fed beef, I mean, it's not your best source for getting omega-3, but it has it's a DC, I guess DCO, DCA. I can't remember exact. Sorry, I apologize. Check one of my last, I think it was last week's actually on the fats, but it can convert about 30% of it converts to DHA, but that's not, you just get the DHA from fish. Okay. Even ALA, which alpha linoleic acid, which comes in like flax and chia, still not going to be we're talking about converting at about 5 to maybe 10% to EPA and DHA. So it's not ideal. You need animal-based sources for those to be the most bioavailable. You're looking, again, best food quality because you're not eating large amounts. So where can you get the most bioavailable nutrients without eating a lot of extra food, right? Potassium and magnesium are available in a lot of greens. Some seafood has a lot of magnesium actually as well, like oysters. But greens, non-starchy vegetables, basically, potassium and magnesium. Avocados have those as well, which are fruit technically. Grains really have no unique nutrients, micronutrients that you need. They're just starchy. They're energy food. They're for growth, but no unique nutrients in those. So nothing you can't get anywhere else better. So they're not really necessary. You don't need them. But there's no, with regard to fat burning, weight loss, there's no foods or meals or supplements that supplies any form of calories. That so basically with fat, carbs, protein, that is going to help you burn body fat. Or say, here are these promises. It's to help you burn belly fat. That's ridiculous. There's nothing that's going to help you zero in on belly fat, okay? Or a food or anything caloric that's going to help you burn more fat. Your body does that in the absence of food, not even a low calorie, but just like no food. Normal blood sugar, low insulin levels, the liver becomes, starts burning more fat or creating more ketones, okay, to add energy when glucose is low or there's not enough glucose available for everything that's going on, for your activity level, for your brain. So your brain ends up taking most of the glucose, your muscles end up burning more fat. Your liver hopefully burns off some of the fat in your visceral area. You start burning off that fat. That comes basically from fasting and eating less frequently, essentially. So not eating all the time, not snacking. And when you have less fuel coming in than you actually need, and you're out of the way. So basically you have to have insulin low, blood sugar low, eating less than you eat, you can burn more fat. In fact, they've even shown improved fat burning with intermittent fasting. So a compressed eating window, so a 6 or 8 hour eating window in the day, or 24 hour, you want to do 24 hour, 1 hour, 1 or 2 hour eating window in a day, with normal calories, same calories, isocaloric. So same amount of calories as someone eating throughout the day, like a 13-hour eating window versus an 8-hour eating window or 6-hour eating window. They burn more fat with a 6-hour eating window, even the same number of calories as they did during 13 hours, just because you got out of the way. Blood sugar came down, allowed your body to access body fat. That's how our bodies work. You can't eat something that makes you burn fat. You're going to burn that thing you just ate. So high protein diets work because they help you feel more satisfied, less hungry, and you can go longer without eating. You eat less frequently. Protein does require more. You probably heard of takes more energy to burn the protein off. Yes. Well, it's called the thermic effect of food. So it does, burn off more, but it doesn't burn off all the energy that you ate. In other words, you're not going to burn more energy than you took in. It just burns more than, say, carbs or fat does to digest it, but you can't out digest the food you took in. Understand? You're not going to over digest calories, or burn up a lot of calories digesting all protein. That's a greater amount than you ate. It just creates a little more energy, but it's not something that's going to have a huge impact. What has a huge impact is just being satiated, nice, even low blood sugar, and allowing a time period throughout the day, a large time period throughout the day to allow your body to burn more fat. Replace what you're not eating with what you've got stored. If you're continuing to eat, why would you burn stored fuel? If you've got food on the table, you don't pull more out of the freezer, right? No, you don't start pulling out of the freezer until you run out of it on the table. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're eating 3 meals a day and snacks, I don't care what you want to call them. I don't care if it's keto, low carb, you're getting in the way. You're blocking your body's ability to access body fat because insulin is up, because you've just eaten. You're not going to be burning fat. And if you're continuing to put calories in, you're going to burn those calories you've taken in or store them rather than burn what you've got stored. Now, there's always those supplements like caffeine, other stimulants that are like diet pills and stuff that are meant to help you mobilize fat. And that works if you're not eating. And I'm not saying I'm recommending that as your diet plan, but as far as the caffeine and the stimulants, but they only work if you're not eating. If insulin's up because you've just eaten, I don't care what you take stimulant wise, you're not going to be releasing fat, period. Okay. So those are not a license to eat. They do add a little small degree of fat release. They're great for performance enhancement because they do mobilize some more fat. But they're not magical. They're not going to reverse your biochemistry. So if you've taken in carbs or you're drinking a shake and you add some caffeine, it's not going to help you burn more fat. Sorry. And it's a short-term boost. I mean, it's not a long-term, plan to take overstimulating diet pills. If you're having a cup of coffee or tea, that's fine. I mean, coffee is maybe 90 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. That's not going to bother most people as far as overstimulation. It might help you get through a fasted period a little better with some more energy, mobilize fat. That's great. But if you're taking something that makes you anxious or edgy, it's probably adding more stress than it's helping. You don't want over anxiety. You get more cortisol going. You're releasing, basically cortisol makes you release glucose, break down more muscle. Okay. It's just, don't let it be a license to eat poorly because you're taking a diet pill. That should be, again, a supplement, a small added thing that if you do it, And if it's something that really makes you, again, makes you edgy, jittery, I wouldn't do it. A little extra coffee or tea, get you through a fasted period. I get it. But it's not even a license just to eat healthy. If you think you're taking that and you're going to burn fat and you're eating eggs and some avocado, you still have elevated insulin. You're not going to, you're burning what you just ate. Now, one thing that does help me as well with fasted periods when I'm eating low carb in general, that keeps my energy level up. It's not without adding energy, without adding calories, or electrolytes. So basically adding minerals to help keep your water, your balance, basically you get a good amount of intracellular water. So not retained water that's extracellular, makes you puffy, but water in, some water in your kidneys, water in your cells, and keep balanced electrolytes. It's not just about the water, it's those minerals. So I use a brand called Relight. There are several out there, but I like Relight. It's made from a salt mine in Utah, gives you the potassium, magnesium, chloride, and sodium to keep your good amount of water in your kidneys, in your cells, and it helps keep my blood pressure up, especially on a longer fasted day. But just eating low carb and exercising a lot when it's hot outside, or if you've got heaters going in the winter, it tends to dehydrate you as well. This does me. So I like Relight. Again, it comes from real salt. We don't get these in our water anymore. We don't have a lot of minerals in our water, right? So this is a little scoop of it in my water. It's fantastic. Especially, again, I do a 24-hour fast once a week. I work out fasted. So I go in the workout. Maybe I haven't eaten for 12 to 15 hours. So dehydration is, a slight level of dehydration is very much a reality. So again, it picks up my blood pressure, keeps the electrolytes balanced, and gives me that energy without adding energy. You know what I'm saying? Makes me feel less lethargic. So, and so if you're looking for that, if you want to check out Relight, I've got a link in my bio, gives you 15% off, so you can give it a shot. 50% off coupon code. Just click that link and it should put it in automatically. 15% is not a bad way to start. Try some out. But again, fasting, low carb or fasting, really keto, even when you do, you're not going to hold as much water. Higher insulin levels tend to cause you to retain water, sometimes outside of the cell. So you have that puffy, like you just had pizza, what that's like, right? You just get that, or Chinese food, you feel the joints feel a little tighter, maybe clothes fit a little snugger, rings fit tight. And that's carbs, glycogen. It's not just salt. Okay. Carbs hold more, basically turn into glycogen, we store as glycogen, which holds like a 3-to-1 water, 3 grams of water for every 1 gram of glycogen. So that's definitely going to make you hold more water, feel that kind of that puffy feeling. And again, it's not always intracellular. It's can be out, outside of where it should be. So even a short 24-hour fast can allow some of that water to be purged. You might even notice if you go 15, 16 hours, you might notice the water starts coming out of you after eating something like that. Usually it's extracellular water, so you don't retain as much. But those electrolytes, that I mentioned, those minerals can be lost very easily. So it's good to replenish those. Again, it just makes the fasted period, especially a workout in a fasted period, much more tolerable because the blood pressure's up and I'm much less lethargic. But again, your focus should be on food quality. I think that's really what it comes down to. For improving fat burning, you want to reduce your meal frequency. So if you're going to eat less, you want to make sure what you do eat is higher quality. It's not garbage. It's not processed food. It's got, good micronutrients. It's going to be a slow digest. So it gives you more satiety. Okay. Not a big insulin spike. And it's just not that easy energy, right? Not that quick, easy that again, is going to have a longer, the more you spike insulin, the longer it takes to come back to normal, blood sugar to come back to normal, and which interrupts fat burning longer. So carbs obviously do that the most. So ideally for your day, it'd be great if your weight loss is your goal to keep your net carbs under 80. I have a client who's keeping it under 50 right now. It's amazing. His net carbs, not total, because he eats a lot of fibrous veggies. But keeping under 80 is a great goal, net carbs. So use an app, something like MyFitnessPal, or some kind of low carb app, some sort. Shoot for under 50 if you can. I mean, go for, if you're a carb person, this is brand new to you, get under 100, then go for under 80. And then if you really want to push it at least a few days a week, try going under 50 and see how you do with that. You're really going to use a lot more stored fat. Use that app to get used to it so you understand, so you can start, eventually you'll be able to eyeball it. Your protein, you got to prioritize protein. Again, keep the satiety up, make you want to eat less, make sure you get enough protein so you're holding on to muscle, because our bodies recycle like 250 grams of protein per day minimum. If you're exercising, it'd be more. But with that 250 gram turnover, we reuse some of it, but some of it we want to get rid of because it would be damaged. If you're exercising, you definitely want to replace a lot of it. So you're looking for at least 100 grams a day minimum. So that's about a pound of meat. So 16 ounces, let's say, of cooked. And an egg is about an equivalent of about an ounce of meat. So about 6 grams per egg. So if you did 12 ounces of meat and 4 eggs, you're good. You're good. That's about what I get in most days, 12 to 14, 15 ounces of meat and 4 eggs usually every day. Whole eggs, the whole thing, keep the yolk. And if you can get that in 2 meals, fantastic. That's a great goal. That can be difficult for a lot of people. And also, I weigh just over 200 pounds. So that's why I'm going for that much as far as a pound plus 20, so I'm getting, 150. I'd love to hit 200 sometimes. It's not always easy. But 100 grams is a pound. Okay. If it takes 3 meals max, you should be eating if weight loss is your goal, fat loss, fat burning. Even if you're working out, I would do much more than that, with a 40 to 50 gram minimum per meal, depending on your size. But to get 100 grams, especially if you're doing 2 meals, you want to try to get 50 grams in each meal, right? That makes sense. Easy math. And that can be difficult, again, for a lot of people. You're talking about, 10 ounces of meat, or offset by some, a certain number of eggs, right? You may take you a while to get used to that, but that's what you need to shoot for, at least 100 grams a day. If you weigh more than 150 pounds, you're closer to 200, especially 200 plus, you definitely want to be getting more than 100 grams. 150 would be better. I have several RDs that recommended 1 gram per pound of body weight, or ideal body weight, whatever your goal body weight is. If it's 180 is your goal to get to, or 140, there's your grams. There's your grams you should be trying to shoot for. You may not hit it every time, but you can get close. You can get close. If you get 80% of that, you're doing great. You're going to be great. You're going to notice you're a lot less hungry, not wanting snacks, not having food cravings. A lot of times we have those cravings with snacky, nibbly kind of feeling because we didn't get enough protein. Our body's chasing the protein. So when you're eating less and eating less often, but you're eating higher food quality, so that food that's not only giving you the macros of proteins you need, the natural occurring fats in those meats, but the micronutrients, which are very, very bioavailable, you're going to need to eat less because you're getting your nutrients in a smaller amount of food that feels very satisfying. You're going to be digesting that protein for a longer period of time in your gut, not your bloodstream with a big spike, but it's going to take its time digesting. So if you're not sure about protein intake, how much you can digest one, okay, I've got a podcast I did just a few episodes back in January, all about protein, taking high protein meals, how much you can digest. I got the research to back it up linked in there, so check it out. But you're going for whole food, micronutrient dense, high protein. Don't waste your meals. Don't waste your calories on processed food. That's your goal, is taking in as much protein, whole food, micronutrient dense. And then everything else is kind of extra or gravy. We should fit in the smaller category with some, and if you do veggies, great. Lean, or not lean, but non-starchy green veggies on the side, fantastic. put some butter on them, have some avocado if you want. I don't think you need to load up extra fat. If you can eat more, do more protein, and the fat accompanying it is enough in most cases. It's plenty. If you've eaten all the meals you can handle, your 2 meals for the day, and you just want more protein intake as you're trying to push that up, you could try adding 3 or 4 eggs maybe after dinner, or if you want, if that doesn't work for you, you go to bed. You don't want it close to bedtime, so you disrupt things. Have it as a mid-afternoon snack. You just don't want to take in the snack and then have it diminish how much you eat at dinner. You're not trying to spread out the same amount. If you're taking about the same amount, you want it in 2 meals, as much as possible, a lunch and a dinner. So be careful that snack doesn't offset what you eat at dinner. But if you need to add on after lunch and dinner, try 3 or 4 eggs, however you want them. Scramble them up, fry them, whatever. Hard boiled might be easy, just you have them. You could do a protein shake. Protein shakes are more for growth. So if you're lifting, doing or some sort of intense exercise regularly, you're trying to get the extra protein in, then you could probably get through a shake. Just be aware of how that affects your the scale, how your weight loss. If it tends to throw it off when you start adding a shake, that's probably it, because it's just elevating insulin. So I would go with whole food like eggs or a small amount of meat as an additional point, or additional snack for the like post dinner, to get that extra protein in. Eggs are pretty light, easy to digest. If you want to do a shake as your dessert now and then, that's fine. You can do that. Make the whey protein shake your dessert. If you want to, get some unsweetened chocolate powder, unsweetened. You find unsweetened chocolate, maybe a whey protein, casein protein. There's if you don't do dairy, beef-based proteins, although it tastes like soup. So, I mean, it's not sweet tasting at all. I definitely do an unsweetened, stevia sweetened, something like that. Shake mix. So if it's got more than 3 to 6 grams of carbs per serving, yeah, that's not what you want. If you got 12 grams of carbs for a 25-gram protein shake, you've got some sugar in there somewhere that you don't want. So keep it single digit carb, ideally 3 or less. It'd be great if it's stevia sweetened. And just beware of how it affects you. It might help you getting the extra protein in, but in shake form, it's not. I would say try to transition. As you get used to that, try to transition to more whole food most of the time. And you could use a whey shake if you wanted a dessert. So a treat. But this really that should get you there. 3 meals, get it down to 2 if you can. 3 meals if you're doing a workout and you want more protein that day, or because of the timing of it. But you won't hurt yourself. If weight loss is your goal, if you work out in the morning, you can still wait till lunch to start your first meal. You'll be fine, because your goal is not growth. Your goal is fat loss, weight loss. 2 meals a day, ideal for that. And then once you get into maintenance mode, make some adjustments. That's a different story. But what you have to do to turn the ship around sometimes and really lose a significant amount of weight is not going to be the same plan you have to maintain. And it may not, what works for you may not work for somebody else. What's working for somebody else probably won't work for you. May not work for you. This in general works for most people, the majority of people. This will work time and time again. 2 meals, prioritize protein and some veggies. Everything else fits in a much smaller category of extra. Naturally occurring fats. Put some butter on the veggies if you want. A little cheese is fine. Sometimes, some people, dairy doesn't work for them. But animal-based protein, veggies, 2 meals. Start there. That's your basis. Whole food. That's your base. That's what it should look like most of the time. And then just see if you can give a little bit or have a little bit extra there now and then. Make sure it doesn't affect your diet. But that will work. That baseline will work. Beyond that, you're going to figure it out for yourself to see how your body responds. Feel free to email me, Zane@ZaneGriggs.com. I think you should have that down. Zane@ZaneGriggs.com with any questions you might have about what I talked about today. Talk to you next week.